Greetings, YouTube. I've spoken on my channel before about the American Civil War. It's a topic of interest of mine, both as a military conflict and as a historical event. And the controversy around it is something that is still hotly contested here on YouTube, and has been hotly contested here on my channel. But what I found fascinating is an article I read I got the link from The Big Blue in February, and one of the things that was right off the bat is that it's a conversation that's been going on in The Big Blue for a month, and rarely you see things on Metafilter get discussed for a solid month, and that's how long it's been going on that forum. So I'm going to link both to that and to the two articles that are part of the overall post that was made. And one of the things I found interesting is that I have known people, encountered them repeatedly here on the internet, that still consider the Civil War to be the war of northern aggression, and still hold dearly to the idea that the South went to war over states' rights. Purely states' rights. It has nothing to do with slavery. It just has to do with states' rights. Now, from an historical aspect, that's kind of strange, seeing as that the states' rights possessed by the states within the Confederate States of America were less strong than the states' rights that they possessed when they were still part of the United States. So that right there, out of the gate, is kind of disproven. But actual historians have known that the primary reason that the southern states seceded was over slavery. Some 4 million slaves existed in the South, and they were a massive economic component of the southern money engine. And if that was to be taken away from them through an eventual abolitionist movements that would make slavery illegal, it would have a devastating effect on their economy. And they wanted to do everything they could to avoid that fate. But there are also additional myths that have been put forth, both from the moment that the Civil War ended up through the year 2010. And I say 2010 because in 2010, it was discovered by a history professor that in his daughter's 4th grade history book, the book was telling students that millions of thousands of slaves had fought for the Confederacy, which is a lie. Now, if this professor had not stumbled upon this lie in his daughter's history book, who knows how long that lie would have continued to exist in those history books and being taught to our children in America. It is a lie. Thousands of slaves did not fight for the Confederates. I can remember hearing that lie when I was in school. All right? And hearing it here on the interwebs on many occasions. Now, if you want to say in a very broad sense, well, states' rights, well, yes. Okay, in the sense that the primary state right that was being defended was the state right to sell human beings like cattle. That was the state right. That was the primary cause of the Civil War. Slavery. And to think otherwise is historical revisionism at its worst. It's telling the world something that is absolutely untrue to make the aggressors in that war look better. Whenever I see someone waving the Confederate flag, I believe that the traditional flag we see in America is the battle flag, not the actual Confederate main flag. I'm saying, oh, look, it's the second place award. And it makes me wonder, why are you flying that flag? Why are you endorsing a conflict that tore our nation apart? A conflict fought to preserve the right to sell human beings like cattle. And I have been told things like, oh, it's part of our heritage. Then you're embracing the heritage of slavery, bigotry, and racism. Not to mention oath-breaking treason. because many of those officers that served in the CSA had been officers in the United States of America. They had sworn an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States of America. And when they seceded from our nation, they violated that oath. They were oath-breaking traitors. And you can't paint that. You can't polish that. There isn't enough lipstick in the universe for that pig. The Civil War was fought over slavery. And as soon as Americans start facing that reality, the better off we'll be. Now, one of the things I found interesting, I think it was in Lies Across America by the author that did the book Lies My Teacher Told Me. Both excellent books. I highly recommend them. Dealt with the fact that there are some 4,000 Confederate war memorials. Some of them in places that didn't even exist as parts of the United States during the Civil War. There are 400 Union memorials to Civil War. 4,000 Confederate, 400 Union. That people from the South funded those memorials for the purposes of spreading the lies to hide the reality of their acts. And that's abominable. Trying to change the fabric of history to suit their particular narrative, as opposed to addressing history in an honest and forthright way. Now, I am aware of Invictus Write History books, but as we get further from the heat of that event, we can look at it more dispassionately. And we have to look at it dispassionately. We have to see it for what it was, a war fought over slavery. So I suggest you go read the articles. They're both good. And if you'd like to look at the article and the discussion on the Big Blue, a number of people can tell their own stories of being raised in the South in the atmosphere of being told it was the War of Northern Aggression, being raised in the mythology of that historical revisionism. And I found those stories to be quite fascinating. And I'm hoping that people can be civil below. And I really do. It would be nice. Because a lot of the time when I discuss Civil War, the long knives come out.